I want to go over in this tutorial how I went about making a path and various shapes within Photoshop. It's really similar to Illustrator. The pen tool is on the left hand side, and when you select the pen tool you have the option up here in your control panel if you want to make it a shape or a path. When you make it a path, you basically will just draw it out with the pen tool, so you'll draw out your shape and then you can make a selection from it. So if you hit selection and then you hit OK, then you have marching ants. So this is a way that you can layer mask out specific elements within a picture with geometric shapes. Okay, so I'm going to do Command D to undo that and to deselect it. For this one, I made a shape and I chose to have a white fill. Okay, which you can select here. I chose to turn my stroke off. If you do have your stroke on, you can change the sizing right here, and you can make it a gradient if you want. You can make it a pattern or no fill. Again, I'm going to have a fill on, and I'll make it pink just so you can see. And here's the shape that I originally made. So all you do is you're clicking in Photoshop to make your desired path, and there it is. And you can use the move tool to move it around, obviously. As you can see in my path, I have some little drop shadows happening. I have a bevel edge. In your document, you have to have layer styles. So with the layer selected right here, which is shape 11, you go up to layer, layer style, and there's all of these different options. You can play around with them. To do a drop shadow, you would just come up here, you can change your blending mode. It's defaulting to black. You can change the color. I'll give it a blue so we can see what's happening. You can change the angle of the drop shadow, the opacity of it, and you can even change the size of it and the spread. Okay, so again, that's going to be your preference. And then you hit OK to set it in place, which I can do here. And then if I ever want to edit this drop shadow, I just double click on it and I can change all my options up here. So maybe I want to see what it looks like as a hard light. Okay, so it changes the lighting a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and delete this layer. Again, if you want to add more layer styles, you can add on top of it. So if you look at mine right here, here's my shape, and I have a bevel and emboss and inner glow. I wanted to have a satin, so if that's what satin did, and I didn't like it, so you can just unclick the eye on satin. You can turn these off if you want by just clicking the eye. So even though you initially put them on there, you can get rid of them. Okay, so I just want to show you how my image came about from start to finish. Here's my gradient fill for my background. Then I went ahead and added another circular gradient, radial gradient at the top just to add a little bit more depth. And then I copied it. I just copied this layer and I moved it down to the bottom and made it more square. Then I did my texture overlay and I did a hard light. And then I added an image of a map and I put a layer mask on here so I could pull away this image and see the background. So with my brush tool, you can play with it. So black reveals, white conceals. Okay, so you can, I have it on color burn, I need it on normal. I'll turn my opacity to 100 so you can see. So white conceals, so white's gonna take out and then the black is gonna cover up everything. So with that layer mask, I can go in and paint, and I can even lower the opacity and pull it back to white to reveal what's underneath. And I can do it slowly. So maybe I want like Michigan showing up here or something. Okay. Then here's the image I took on my own. It looks crazy right now because there's all these layer masks happening. And then here's the image of the gravel. And all I did was I created a path in Photoshop with the pen tool on my gravel image, and then I made a selection and I was able to clip this. So if you look at this closely, it's an actual triangle. Whoops. Command Z. You have to select the layer to move it. So here you can see it's an actual triangle. So I'll do Command Alt Z to go back to where it was. Then I'm going to turn my shape on, which is my path. Shape, you have to incorporate a shape. Everything I'm showing you, you have to incorporate. Here's my woman with the bunker. I made it one layer, so I grouped the layers so you can see. Here's the woman, the shadow that I did. Here she is on her own, and here's the black and white bunker. Okay, so as a group, that's all one entire thing. And then I just copied it. Then I drew a shape over her face using the pen tool, just like this shape down here, the white shape. And then I made another copy of the woman in the bunker. And then layer 7, I put some little dots with the brush tool. So if you take the brush tool, I'm going to click on layer 6 and make a new layer. And you play with all of these, like I'm going to do dissolve. You can change your brushes. Cancel, sorry, cogwheel. I'm going to do some like faux finish brushes, hit OK to replace them. And here's some interesting brushes here. Zoom out to make it bigger. Choose my color so you can see, and you can literally put little plops of color in there. Okay, you don't want to go crazy on it, but that's how I have this purple color right here. It's just a small brush with dissolve, and you can play with all these. You could do multiply and see the different effects. Multiply looks differently than, say, the dissolve. Okay. So those are ways that you can add texture to your image as well. I'm going to go ahead and delete this layer and scroll back through here. Then I added a circle with a gradient fill up here. So there's the circle. Here's an ellipse tool that I added, and I used this as a path. So all it is a white stroke color with like a 2 to 3 point stroke. Here's another one where I increased the stroke size. These are my sound waves. Okay, I repeated them over here. And notice how they're each on their own layers, so I can edit them. Here's my tower that I added in. And then I added some more gradient circles, which look like they're hidden behind. Oh no, these are like little spots of paint down here on the bottom. And then I added some lines. And I wouldn't say my artwork is fully done, but it's getting there. I've hit all the requirements for the project, and I'm slowly just adding little details. I may lighten up this shape that I created right here. I may lower the opacity on it, maybe not have it so dark so you could see a little bit. I like that you can see a little bit of her face. I think that looks a little better instead of it being just a blob of color. Okay, so here's a nice example from start to finish.